Welcome to edition 104 of All Killa No Filla podcast with me, Rachel Fairburn, and Kiri Pritchard-McLean. Just before we start, we'll do our usual disclaimer. This isn't hero worship. We do this podcast because we have mutual interest in serial killers. As long as we are doing this podcast, it stops us from writing to them in prison.
Yes, Nadala Shawan, welcome to this Christmas-themed edition of All Killa No Filla.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, I mean, it's
We're very busy.
do you know what it is? It's got real divorced dad vibes, hasn't it?
Do you think? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They might pop round.
We've got All Killa Christmas jumpers on.
Retro now.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a crumb on there. Owen, the producer, made us some gingerbread cookies, which were very delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I've only we'll talk about this, but my tastes have changed. I've only just got into ginger.
What? Really? Is that what
What?
you're saying you like Thai food?
Yeah, well, I historically I've always hated ginger, the flavour of it, and I'd say in the last couple of months I'm really into it now. And I never used to like Thai food. I used to hate lemongrass. It used to actually a real aversion to it, the smell and the taste. Now can't get enough of it.
What a brave new world for you,
I
man.
know, and I think it's because I mean some of the things that have been in there. I think it's because I will admit I've had the odd cigarette when I've had a little bit of a drink, but I've cut down a lot on drinking,
Yeah.
and I've pretty much quit smoking this year. And I think my taste buds are just like, ooh. Also, vegetables taste amazing. I mean, I like vegetables anyway, but I've been like, ooh, give us a bit of broccoli. Just every flavour's so good.
It's really nice,
Yeah.
This is what, you know, when people do I'm a Celebrity and they're like, I'll savour every meal now, having not eaten and only had rice. It's like you've done I'm a Celebrity.
It's like, yeah, I've done
but
that.
you haven't had to, like, eat a penis.
Well. Oh, horrible. Oh, Christmas episode, we can't start with
We
it.
can't. Merry Christmas. Nadal Shawan, everyone. Feliz Navidad, is that one?
That's Spanish.
Is it?
Is
Look at this. What an international episode.
Merry Crimbo.
Javi.
That's for arseholes, isn't it?
That's speaking arsehole, yeah. So this is a Christmas edition. Now, occasionally we do a mammoth Christmas edition that we try and drop on the whole day. But we're doing a fun kind of quick one for time reasons. We'll probably give you a big multi-parter in the new year. And this one is we're actually doing what we were going to do for the Halloween show that you did with the Fantastic Detective Stevenson. I wasn't at the Halloween show because I was busy watching my dad die before you send a message. So this is the Dead Dad episode, and I'll be honest, every episode moving forward. So yeah, we're going to be talking about Lizzie Borden.
Yes, we did do this as a live show. Wasn't the same without you, of course.
Thanks so much.
You were very much missed, but I thought it'd be good to just do it as a
Great.
as a bit of a crimbo romp.
It's I don't know that she did it.
She fucking did it.
I don't think she did it.
She
so
did it.
I'm glad that we get to argue on camera.
I mean, it's a very famous case, this, and
Sing the song.
Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Let's make it rhyme.
Yeah, it's really good.
Incorrect information, which we'll get to a bit later on there. But it's a very famous case. If you're into true crime, you've probably heard about it. And so basically, it's the
Did
case
you go see a musical about it?
I did. I got invited by lovely Mary, who got in contact through Twitter, who was in it. She played the maid. And she invited me she invited both of us. You couldn't go, I don't think.
Yeah, I was working, I think.
And I happened to be in Manchester at the time, and I went along, and I had a great time. It's very good. Lizzie the musical. I've still got my tote bag that they gave me. That I'm still using. A brilliant T-shirt. Listen, give me a T-shirt and a tote bag. I'm happy. Honest to God.
We've got, do you know what? Legends have sorted out some lovely experiences. About this time last year, we went to Madame Tussauds.
We did.
Which was a lovely day.
Yeah.
Got a picture of us.
That was a great day.
Yeah.
We've never shared that picture, have we?
No, that was on my birthday last year.
We'll have to share that picture. What else have we had? Oh, God, I can't even remember.
More. That's what we need.
Yeah, we want more. What is it when Noel Gallagher said when he did that? Speaking of which, let me get to that in a minute. Noel Gallagher, when he was interviewed years ago when Oasis first became massive, they asked him about stuff and he went, I've got £1 million in the bank, I've got a stalker, I've got this, I've got that, and I'm happy. No, I'm not. I want more. That's us. We want more.
No, so if you do work for some kind of minor attraction, I would.
The
be
Lion
interested in
King.
going.
We got Lion King tickets again. You couldn't go to
You
that.
fucking hoover everything up. That's the problem. We get offered stuff and you go.
Yeah, because you will not be in London.
No, that's true. That's true.
So yeah. Anyway, so I'm checking my watch now. I'm going to see Noel Gallagher tonight.
You're not get bored of seeing.
No. I was just saying I've not seen him since last time I saw him was before COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's divorced now.
You're gonna swoop in?
No, I don't want relationships with them. I couldn't. How could I go out with either of them? Being, you couldn't listen to the music anymore. You couldn't. I don't want to be with him anyway.
I bet he plays his own music, so I think you'd be fine.
Yeah, but then it's gone then, isn't it? I'd love to be like in the friendship group, but on the periphery.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's what I'd like. But
going out with one of his mates from school, that kind of thing.
No, just being there because he liked me comedy or something.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm very excited and I hope I make it, but I am at the mercy of trains today.
Well, enjoy Crew because you're not getting any further than that.
Well, yeah.
You come up to, so we're recording, we should say we're recording this in my house in Wales, so God love you for coming all the way up. You came up yesterday, in fact.
I did.
Yeah, because you said, can I stay at your house? And I was like, I'm not going to be there. And you're like, I'm too scared, I'm going to stay
I was too scared.
in a chain.
I stayed in a Premier Inn and the
no phones in the rooms?
The check-in, people are just the worst, aren't they? I mean, what you need to do is, hello, here's my name, here's a key card for you. There was a family in front of me. They were here for someone's graduation. How did I know? Because they kept telling everybody. And there was like a boy and a man and a woman, sort of a young, I don't know if they're a couple or related, who fucking knows. And a very loud German man who I couldn't ascertain what his relationship to them was. And the mother, who I would describe as a woman who's used to getting her own way. And they were checking in, but they were checking into a Premier Inn like they were checking into the Dorchester. Like they were going, oh yes, and well, in the morning we'll need a taxi. What time? We need to book a table for dinner. You need to book at the table next door.
Just wondering.
Restaurant,
it's
right?
A Thursday, you'll be fine.
Table, right? Which I did eat alone in last night. I had gammon and egg, and it was very nice. And then she was going. There's a queue forming behind, and she's one of those people that has to get the name of the receptionist.
Oh, God.
Stop being controlling. So if you're saying to the, I won't give the girl's name, she's like, yes, and Claire, how would we, and she sort of said, yes, and we need to book, could we book for, when would you recommend that we book a table for?
God.
Never.
It's going to be microwaved whatever time you go in
exactly.
There, so.
To be fair, actually, it was very fresh and very good, the gammon and egg and chips. It was very good for a chain. Anyway, she's like, hey, I said, and then as she's saying 8 o'clock, the girl's going, oh no, but I have to be at the graduation for around that time. And she went, no, darling, not for the graduation, for dinner this evening. She's like, oh, thank God. It's like, fuck off. Just the level of service that they expected.
Yeah, for £89 a night.
For what they were paying was... But also that looking around when you can see there's a queue. That is your cue to get out of the way, Anyway, that's that. But what's it called? Britannia, the table, Britannia.
Yes, yeah, it was.
Gammon, egg and chips was actually very, very good.
What, live TripAdvisor here on All Killa and Filla. I also stayed in a hotel, not last night, the night before. I don't stay in hotels very often, so it's sort of a treat, but I'm over it now. Like kicking the thing, that lies over the bed that they don't change, kicking that off because that's covered in jizz.
Yeah.
Opening the curtains with an elbow because that's covered in jizz. Throwing the curtain off, the cushion off that's on top of the pillows because that's covered in jizz. Not being able to have, like something from the kettle because that's been pissed in. Being scared of the shower gel because that'll just be cum. And I was getting so wound up, like being like about touching everything. And I thought the problem here is and I'm going, people are disgusting, but it's not, is it? It's men. Men are disgusting.
Yep.
There's no woman squatting over a kettle in a Radisson. No. Like it's only men doing that. Yeah. And you suggested women-only hotels.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, and I've just read a book about one that was brilliant. Is it called about the Barbizon Hotel in New York, and I'm all for it.
But may I just stress, I do want women-only hotels, but I don't want that to be an excuse for women to try and make friends with me. I just want the environment of women.
Do you know what you need? Have you ever seen a dog and it's like don't pet me, it stresses me out.
Oh my God, yes.
You need a jacket with that on.
Yes.
They're in your size as well. They're always little dogs.
I was just talking to our producer Owen about this. We were talking about dogs, and I wanted a dog for a while, but I'm just thinking I've become obsessed with this dog, which is from a rescue in London. It's called Mickey, and it's a Chihuahua. It's 8 years old, and it says came to them after being abandoned. So as soon as, and it says please read in capital letters, right? So as soon as something says abandoned, I said to Tim, I said it came came to us after being abandoned. He went, no, it's a cunt. So I was like, and he's so cute. And it says, although Mickey is cute, he's rather temperamental, right? And I'm like, I think I like this dog. And I'm reading, and there's pictures of it, and he looks so smug. It's like this and like that. And it says, it's got one picture, it's got a lead on that says in red, do not pet. I'm like, I need this dog. I've actually emailed about it, but they've not got back to me yet.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I love him. I'm obsessed with it. Every day I'm checking, I'm hoping, like, please, Mickey, find
Rachel,
a home.
It's never finding a home.
Well, that's what Tim keeps saying. He said, that dog, he said, will attack somebody. I'm like, yeah, but he just needs the right family.
No, it doesn't.
It needs
destroying.
Yeah, I need that dog. That would be perfect for me. Because I'm giving it that and he's going, I'd love that. Poor little Mickey. He just needs a home for Christmas. I might foster him.
Okay, yeah. I think you will immediately change your mind. My grandma used to have chihuahuas and they were horrible and would always attack me.
Really?
They're just like,
yappy.
You know those, the girls in between fights being like, leave it, Darren. That's what chihuahuas are like. They're just like, just into everything and really sort of aggressive.
Oh, poor Mickey.
No.
Just abandoned though.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes, it's like finding out someone that, is a twat, their wife has left. You're like, yeah.
Poor Mickey.
No, sorry. And there'll be messages now being like, there's only, no such thing as bad dogs, only bad owners.
Well,
and
that's not
Mickey.
true.
Yeah, and Mickey.
That is not true. Some dogs are assholes. That is a fact, right? And they can have good owners and they can be well-mannered, but fundamentally they are assholes.
Absolutely.
It's like you can't blame the parents for everything.
No.
As we know from doing it.
Yes. Speaking of, well, one of the things I wanted to talk about is the house that all the murders happened in. There's 2 murders. The Borden household, Andrew and Abby, were murdered there with an axe, as the lovely rhyme said. It is a Lizzie Borden themed B&B that you can stay in. And it's like everything is kind of set up like it was when the murders happened, to the point where Andrew was killed and like slumped on a sofa. They have the sofa in the room in the same position, and they've recreated the wallpaper and all that.
I thought you were going to say they had like a wax model of him on the.
But I think they've got the picture above it of him. Very visceral crime scene picture.
Nice, lovely touch.
Would you stay somewhere like that?
No, probably not. I find it a bit
for free.
Rachel. I don't know. I just find...
Okay, for television.
Yeah, for television. Yeah. We can do out for TV and bend over and get my arsehole out,
mate. Would you bend over and get your arsehole out on the sofa that he was murdered
Yeah,
on?
absolutely.
For Channel 5.
Of course. Listen, I'd do it for ITVX, mate. No, I would for a thing. But also, I don't know, I'm a bit weird about stuff like that. I always find it a bit like... bleh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's... do you know what I think the main thing is like, we're really lucky with what we do, that the people who listen to our podcast are like sound. But so many people I think who are into true crime are annoying and nutters. I know that's quite a problematic term, but I'm in there now. And I just think, when you go down, and for a start, the weird atmosphere in a B&B the next day when you're having the breakfast, it's like, morning. And it's like ASMR, everyone's like, would you like some toast? And it's such a weird atmosphere, and everyone's talking but not talking to each other. Imagine that, and knowing that everyone in there is staying there because someone died there.
Yeah.
I just think it would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Also, I don't like stuff like that, and I hate anything that is that has a level of customer service beyond what is just minimal. Like, so I stayed in a bed and breakfast in, was it Bristol, Bath recently. Very, very nice. And in the morning, Tim and I were having breakfast, and it was quite a busy breakfast room. And the lovely owner, wanted to talk. It was like, so what are you here for? And I'm just like, I can't. And I can feel myself going red because I get quite anxious about. Is that her flying in now just to...
the war's coming.
I get quite embarrassed for conversation. Like
what, small talk?
Or if I don't know somebody, I instantly, I'm like...
Is that a shyness thing?
Yes. Which I spoke about this in my show, actually, being shy. And it all comes back, and I always feel about 5 years old, and I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to talk. Like, sometimes I even say to Tim now, will you do the talking? Because I'm so anxious in certain situations. But... yeah, and also I hate saying what I always lie. I don't say I'm a comedian. I'm just here for a couple of days, just working. That's what I just say.
Because also sometimes there'll be a really obvious thing if you say you're a comedian, or they know you're a comedian, And they'll go, so what's your name then? Or like, and I just say, oh, it's Kiri, like, because I think I'm the only comedian called Kiri. And then they'll go away, let's say, to get you scrambled eggs, and you can tell when they've come back they've YouTubed you.
Yeah.
The air is completely different. It's such a weird thing when they're like, well, like, I don't know what you've just seen, so I don't know what this atmosphere is.
Also, I told you the other day, I had to go into to the hospital for a procedure the other day, an investigation, in the gynaecological department.
Did they find him? Or just a watch strap?
Don't make me laugh. Anyway, it's obviously not a very pleasant experience, and you're just like, oh, this is horrible. But then the guy. Also, men, please stop being gynecologists. I find it weird. Don't at me. I just find it. Go and be a dick doctor, or study the balls. Just leave it with it. But
PhD in balls.
Very professional man, very lovely nurse. And then they asked me what I did, and I didn't feel confident enough to lie as I was in this situation with my knees shaking. So I said, "Oh,
it was that good."
Yeah, well, don't. It was that bad. I just said, I'm a stand-up comedian, and I was like, "Why the fuck did I say that?" And they went, she went, probably new material for this. I'm thinking, absolutely not, mate. But then I thought, men are always doing jokes about how many at the prostate exam, aren't there?
Yeah.
Nobody's like
Susie Ruffle and Maisie have got routines about smear tests, I think.
I know, but like anything other than that, people are just very like, they don't like it, do they? But how many times do we have to hear a male comedian talk about the finger up the bum?
Yeah.
And it turns out, you'd met him before, or that kind of stuff. But anyway, my point was,
can I say that the two best ones of that? Billy Connolly's got a great routine, and Rob Rouse has one. Rob Rouse has a great one.
In fact, ever. I think Rob Rouse's one is
definitive.
It's done. Yeah. You don't need to do it.
It's the man draw of fingers up the arse.
Yeah, you don't need to see any other after. Yeah, he's done it.
He's such a nice man as well.
So, in fact, Rob Rouse, big fan, such a good comedian. Go and see him. But anyway, the point was, I just felt in that situation, I was like, I don't want to talk about work.
Did I tell you about when I had a funny thing? So, quite a lot of information now. So I found like...
That sounds like an all-female comedy, a fanny thing.
So I found like a lump on one of my, like, somewhere in my fanny, basically, like on my labia, right? And I realized, I sort of like, you found it, and then was like, I think it was just like, I don't know, whatever, itched myself, whatever, found it and was like, fuck, that's a lump.
Itch myself?
Well, do you know what I mean? I don't even know how I found it, but I wasn't wanking. But you can't go like...
scratching away.
Well, I don't know what I was doing down there, but I found it and I wasn't wanking. But the more I go like, I wasn't wanking, it sounds like I'm clearly like rubbing one out. So in a non-wanking capacity, I found a lump, right? And then I fell asleep and forgot about it. And then like 2 weeks later... when I was next not wanking, I found it again and I was like, shit, I found this weeks ago. It's still there, and was terrified. And so booked in, and do you know what I hate? You know when you got to phone up and you've got to speak to someone who's not a medical professional.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can I get an appointment to see a nurse today, please? And they're like, well, what it depends, doesn't it? What is it? And I'm like, do I have to tell you what it is? And they were like, yeah, otherwise we might not be able to give you a nurse's appointment. I said, okay, I've got a lump on my labia. And she's like, I'll just put you through to the nurse now. So whatever you've got wrong with you, so you've got a lump on your labia, because you really get fast tracked.
Yeah, you'll be straight in.
Guys, nothing to worry about. It's quite a common thing. Called it Bartholin cyst, I think.
Oh,
and
yes.
She said antibiotics, and I said, will it just go in its own time if I just keep it clean and stuff? And she said, yeah, because I'm worried if I stop wanking for 5 seconds. Listen, I think we should talk about stuff like this, right? I could be the reason that someone, finds a lump and doesn't worry about it. So yeah.
What, and doesn't go and get treated, and then it turns out
okay,
it's
so
actually...
obviously going and check it out, but she offered me antibiotics, and I said no because of doing best medicine. All the doctors I know are terrified about antibiotic resistance, and so I said, do I need it? And she was like, not really. She said it should clear up, and if it doesn't come back, but she said, to be honest, just have a couple of hot baths and you'll be fine. I was like, can I wank in the baths? And she said, just give it for 5 seconds. Give it some rest.
Well, I now have to go in to be put under anaesthetic for a...
He's that big?
No, well, they just said my vagina's too tight, They just said this woman must be put under for this, as we make... I'm actually going in to have it made bigger because it's just been awful. It's just been so tight all these years. But to be honest, I don't really understand what's happening. I'm just like, yeah, when is it? Just let me book the time off. But I'm looking forward to being put under anaesthetic because I love that feeling.
I hate it.
Oh.
Did you hear that?
Cockerel.
Okay, so you may have heard a cockerel in the background. He's fucking
Perfect
giving it
timing
that.
just after that.
It really was.
He's
Or it was
like-
an echo in your tiny fanny.
Well, he's been like, you've been talking about fannies too much. Here's a bit of cock.
He's we got a couple of roosters, a couple of young ones, and they're learning how to crow, which I didn't realise they had to do because our one's like a proper cock-a-doodle-doo. And then there's a little one who comes outside our window every morning, is like, ronkle donkey farm. And he just does these mad things. He's like, cock-a-dingle-dong.
Trying it out.
Yeah, he's just sort of trying it for size. But he's getting better day by day, bless him. And I don't want to shame him. Should we talk about this? So yes, now Lizzie Borden's home is a B&B. So the area it's in is quite interesting because her dad was minted, wasn't he? He was really successful. He owned lots of properties. Didn't he also have an undertaker's business?
Yes.
Because he's sort of famously frugal, and the rumour was that he would cut the feet off the bodies so he didn't have to make the coffins any bigger.
That's just small town nonsense, that. I don't believe that at all. So what I will say is Lizzie Andrew Borden, her middle name was Andrew, methinks they wanted a boy. Born 16th July 1860, Fall River, Massachusetts. Her mother, Sarah Anthony Borden, she died 3 years after Lizzie was born. She had very ill health.
There's another one with the middle name of a man. Do you think that was common?
Yes.
To have your dad's middle name?
Yeah, maybe it's like that thing in the northeast of England where they gave the son the surname of, so hence the reason Robson Green's called Robson Green. Like, I think Robson was his like grandfather's surname. So there's quite a lot of that in like, it's like a tradition in the northeast.
Do you know there's a village on Anglesey, Aberfraw, I think it is, where Titty's from, where your surname would be, so like what is your grandma's name?
May.
And what was her mum's name, do you know?
Good question. Agnes, I think.
Okay, so you would be Rachel May Agnes, and that way you can trace people's ancestry back. And I genuinely think it's so they didn't fuck their brothers and sisters and cousins.
Oh, okay.
But you would know people's. Sometimes they'd have four sort of the surnames of the grandmas,
right? Okay.
And it's only in that sort of village.
That's quite nice.
Yeah, it's lovely little bit of business.
Lovely bit of business, and also stops the incest. What more do you want?
Slows down the incest. I would say.
The incest. So she dies, and she was very ill. The mother. She lost she lost a child, Alice, who died just after her second birthday, and Lizzie was born 2 years after Alice had died. So she was I imagine she's a very fragile woman. That's what she seems. The father was Andrew Jackson Borden. I imagine Jackson would have been the surname of his,
Oh yeah,
yeah. So there was a sister, Emma Leonora. Nothing to report there. Borden. She was older, born in 1851. She was almost a decade older than Lizzie, so she took on quite a motherly role. Now, Andrew, the father, grew up in modest surroundings as a young man, despite being the descendant, easy for you to say, of influential local residents who were very wealthy. So he set up a business that manufactured furniture and caskets. He then became a property developer. He was also the director of several textile mills and owned commercial property.
Do you know what? As soon as I was like, this is such a horrific murder, and like you always see crime scene pictures of this when you're like not looking for them, which is something we've never been into. And I was like, seeing this poor guy slumped with all these axe wounds, and then being like, oh, property developer, fill your boots, absolutely fill your boots.
He was also the president of a savings bank, and when he died, his estate was valued at $300,000. That's almost $10 million today. Now, when I read that, everything's so expensive, I'm like, I don't think that seems a lot of money now.
No.
I'm like, $10 million and what? I've been in America and I came back from New York recently. I got a scratch card when I was there, and the top prize was something like $30 million. So I paid $20 for this scratch card. And I thought, do you know what? 30 million is not enough, actually. There's things I need to do. I'm not going to have a life that I want. But why is everything 50 quid?
Yeah.
Everything's 50 quid. You go out for dinner, 50 quid. You buy a 50 quid. Train ticket, 50 quid. Everything's too expensive.
You buy a snide handbag, 50 quid.
Well, $80, 75 quid. I did buy a snide handbag, and I love it.
It looks great.
So, obviously in America on Canal Street, it's very different now. Because when I went to New York, many years ago, it was a lot of Chinese people had the stalls, and you just went in and bought a fake handbag.
So like openly?
Openly. Yeah. Now it's very different. So you're walking up the street and people go, hey, do you want to buy a bag? And you're like, yeah, I do actually. And they take you around a corner and give you a laminated sheet, or you go through someone's phone.
What, like a menu in a rough cafe?
Yeah. So they'll show and you point, and then so basically this guy came up to me, asked if I wanted to buy a handbag. I said yes, and he said follow me, so I followed him. And
is this because the police have cracked down?
The police will crack down. I mean, there's other things to crack down on. I mean,
I was going to say New York's biggest problem is not the fake handbags, is it?
Yeah. So
it's the rats.
I was. I knew what I wanted anyway, so I went round the corner, and this tiny little Chinese lady greeted me. Took me around another corner, and by this point, my friend, who's not as resilient as me, I would say, is getting quite panicked, and I'm like, "You kind of killing my buzz, mate." You know?
Were you trying to be really cool buying a fake bag?
Well, see, I'm not on edge or nervous about stuff like that.
Yeah,
I know that I'm not going to be murdered. Like I'm. This is the transaction that's happening, but also I get a bit of a buzz out of it. Like, oh yeah, imagine if I got arrested now, my life would be ruined. But yeah, right. So, and then she said she's looking through, and then she went, "Do you want some earrings?" and pulls out this massive thing like this of all these fake Chanel earrings. So I went, "Oh yeah, I'll have a pair of them as well." And I said, "So altogether, this is like 120." And I said, "Can I give you 80?" And she went, "For you, yes." I thought, I'm in with these people now. I could have gone lower, but I thought, don't take the piss. And she said, my husband is coming now. And a Chinese guy ran across the road with a plastic bag and went, and I went, yeah, thank you very much. Lovely. Transaction done. Gave the earrings to my friend to cheer her up. And off I went.
Wow, you're the bad woman of comedy.
I'm the bad boy of comedy. Love it.
It's a great bag.
It's a great bag. And I, know... someone will probably write in and go, actually, do you know those bags are made by orphans from the Ukraine? And
Stop it. Also, I would say find me a luxury brand that is paying people properly to make their stuff. Well, yeah, there isn't one.
Exactly. But please don't write in, because I've got my bag and I don't fucking care. So anyway.
Look in my little bag. Oh, look, there's no fucks. I don't give them. They're not in there.
Exactly. So now... He was wealthy, Andrew, but he was known for being frugal.
Yes.
So the house was in a very affluent area, but it wasn't in the most fashionable area.
Do you know that they can't, in the house, you can't say the word cheap, because apparently the ghost of him bangs things if he's described as being cheap. So
really,
they have to like spell it out or be euphemistic about it.
How often are you saying cheap though?
Well, look, when they're doing tours and go, he's a very cheap man. But then the things that they describe as being cheap, I don't actually think are that bad. So in the area, there was a bit called the Hill where all the posh people lived, and he didn't want to live there. He lived in the middle of town because he was much closer to his businesses. He could walk to check on them. And that was the bit that was actually much more multicultural as well, as where a lot of the Irish people who settled there live. It's where a lot of the Portuguese, a lot of anti-Irish, anti-Portuguese sentiment in this. So he lived in that area, and I think man of the people. And then they're like, even though it was common to have indoor plumbing and heating, he didn't have that in his house, and be like, it's not headline news that a dad doesn't want to put the heating on. Like, find me a dad who's desperate to put that central heating on.
There will have been cavemen that didn't want to use all the wood. Put on another bear skin, they would have been saying. So, yeah. Also, I'm a bit like that. I don't put the heating on.
Oh, I love that.
I'm a little bit, yeah. Do you know if I come home from a gig and Tim has had the heat, and say I come back at about 11 at night, and I get in and I go, it's a bit hot, and I touch that radiator, not having it. What are you? Like, you don't need that much heat. You're an adult man. Put a jumper on.
Your flat gets very hot very quickly as well.
Yes, it does.
So you would just blast it for, an hour and you'd be fine.
That's it. But yeah, if I get back and I'm like...
I'm the opposite with my house. I like it warm. I have the heating on. Not like old people warm, but like, because do you know what it is if I go in, because it's an old house, if I go in and it's cold, I feel sad straight away. It feels like there's ghosts in the room.
I know what you mean. You like to come into a warm environment.
Love to come into a warm environment. Usually steaming with the dog having barked out a turd.
He was very known for his clothing. So in all seasons, he wore a double-breasted jacket and a string tie.
What's a string tie?
Like one of those Oh,
love it.
Yeah.
Great look.
Very Brandon Flowers. Kind of like it. Actually, do you know that Drew, the photographer Drew Forsyth, who takes our pictures, I saw a photograph of him the other day, and I genuinely thought it was Brandon Flowers at first.
I don't get those vibes at all.
Because he's all leg drew, isn't he?
Yeah.
Long legs and a leather jacket.
Yeah, but Brandon Flowers, last time I saw him, I think it was at Latitude, and he had like an orange, he's the lead singer of the Killers, he had like an orange tan and teeth that I was like, have you been to Turkey?
Yeah, he's...
like, he looked like he was just coming back from Turkey and he'd had them all done.
Used to love the Killers, you know. You do it, I'd say, possibly my second favourite band and I was into them at very early time. First time I saw Brandon Flowers, it was that All These Things That I've Done video.
Oh.
And you walk around the corner, it's on Brick Lane, innit? And I went, oh, who's that man?
Yeah.
And I became obsessed with him.
You know, when they came out in the era where he had suit jackets with feathers on his shoulders, I was like, that is unbelievably hot. He was just really glamorous and had really I remember he had this cool, I think it was Dior or Dolce & Gabbana silver like jacket that was so good. Yeah, he was.
And he was so much, like, at first he was just so handsome and cute but I mean, I wish him well. He doesn't give a shit what I think, does he?
Nice teeth. Anyway, so yeah, they lived in this bit of town that they should have kind of, for their circumstances, for being wealthy people of the area and well known, they shouldn't have lived there. And this contributed to this reputation of him being a type.
Yeah.
Cheap.
They had a fairly religious upbringing. They went to Congregational Church. Lizzie was involved in activities including teaching Sunday school. And she was a member of the Ladies' Fruit and Flower Mission.
Well, all of this contributes to what happens when the murders happen, is that she was sort of deemed to be very, well, her and her sister were spinsters, they weren't expected to marry, and she was sort of deemed to be very ladylike and of the upper echelons, and there's a brilliant quote when they're sort of investigating the murder, the police go, because the police were quite working class, and they were obviously police were literally invented to protect the interest and property of posh people like them or wealthy people. And when they were sort of, Lizzie was the number one suspect, they said, we can't be her because not one unmaidenly nor a single deliberately unkind moment could be mentioned from her past. So she was very ladylike and not at all unkind. I think her stepmum would beg to differ.
Well, 3 years after Sarah, the mother, died, Andrew married Abby Durfee Gray. She was 37, was considered an old maid at the time.
Oh my God, that's my age now.
Well,
I think.
As I say, I could be any age between 7 and 102. So, but also, I've never been engaged. Not asked. And I respect every single one of those men for that, because they knew that I was just too good for them. So, good luck to them. I just find it fundamentally embarrassing, that kind of stuff.
What, being engaged?
Yeah, just like no. Ooh, no, I find it quite embarrassing. I'd find getting married quite embarrassing.
It's a shyness thing, isn't it?
Shyness, yeah, but also I just think, I mean, good luck. I mean, nice for you, nice for everyone, other people getting married.
I could see you having a little registry do though, or getting married by Elvis or something.
I'd find it so embarrassing. I don't like it. It makes me cringe thinking about it. So embarrassing. Everyone looking at you and being like, ugh. No, not for me. Look, I just think I've got this far without it. I think I'd struggle to go into any kind of contract with anybody.
You know that you have got a partner of many years.
Yeah, that's fine, and that's all right. I don't think he's asked about getting married.
I could see you having, you know, like Helena Bonham Carter had with Tim Burton, just like two houses next to each other.
I'd love that. One door. Would love that. Perfect. Perfect. Anyway. So the house, so she was a lower social status than Andrew, his new wife, Abby, and people thought that he'd proposed because he was looking for a living maid and nanny for the daughters.
But that is true. Like when I saw that like, I mean, it is the case now, but it's so shit back then that like, if a man, you know, became a widow, they would go, right, I need another wife because I need someone to cook my meals and take care of me. And we're like, it's just staff. Like you're just taking staff on.
There wasn't, but they did have a maid. There was another occupant of the house. She was an Irish immigrant, Bridget Sullivan, who they called Maggie.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because they had a previous Irish maid called Maggie and they didn't want to learn a new name.
I fucking hate everyone in this house.
I think they're spoiled brats.
They are spoiled brats.
So they just started calling her Maggie, which is absolutely appalling.
She was 25 years old. And the living maid, as you said.
Do you know the setup of this room as well? I think maybe it was a former boarding house, but basically there was no hallways. So everyone was kind of like cramped in there. It was quite intense. You had to walk through the mum and dad's bedroom to get to the girls' bedroom.
Ugh.
So there was all these rumours as well about, well, Lizzie, first of all, they said she was gay. And then they implied that there was a relationship between her and her father as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
And sort of based on not much other than the fact that she had to walk through her dad's bedroom
Yeah.
to get to bed. Be like, I don't think that's proof. But they had this terrible relationship with what is now their stepmother,
Yes.
and refused it. They would definitely not call her mum, and they just, I think they saw her as competition. And it's a disagreement as to whether that was competition for the father's attention or,
money. It's about money. They want money.
It's about money, because that does rear its head as well.
It's all about the money. So at the time of this incident, which was on the Thursday, the 4th of August, 1892, God, it must have stank. Lizzie was aged 32 and Emma was 39.
Mm-hmm.
And grow up, girls. They were living at home. Emma was away.
Yes.
Emma, it was said that Emma was away with a suitor, but it seems that she was away visiting pals. So it's very much like, yes, you wouldn't know him, he goes to a different school.
This had come off the back, or also this incident come off the back of there been a bit of discord in the house. For instance, Abby, so the stepmom, her sister had been gifted a property by the dad. Gone, there you go, there's some income for you, and you'll be the landlord for that. And the girls, his daughters, kicked off. And we're like, why are you giving it to our auntie? She's not even our real auntie. So they were like really upset about it. And so he went, okay, well, you can have your own house and I'll give you a house and you can be the landlord for that.
Who is the Oprah? You get a house. You have a house.
So he gives them a house, and then but a few months later they come back and like, we don't want the house anymore. And he's like, why? And they're like, well, it's a lot of work being a landlord, isn't it? Can't you just give us money? So they did, because the tenants, apparently he didn't spend very much on his houses, so they were always had things going wrong. And the tenants were like, can you repair this? Can you do this? This is not safe. And the girls were like, oh, I don't know, it'd be so much work. So kicked off. But they really fell out with Abby in particular over this, and would barricade. Abby took to locking her door because it was so tense there. And Lizzie would push furniture against her door so no one would come in. But it's like, when people have to siblings share a room and they draw a line down the middle, get your stuff, get your stuff off my side.
You can't leave the room because you've got to go over my side to get out, so you've got to stay there now. That kind of immature thing. I must say as well, so as we know, neither Lizzie nor Abby, Lizzie or Emma, were married. It was said with Lizzie this was due to her being not a great beauty or homely.
Oh, stop saying homely.
But also,
because it just means probably a size 16.
But also, Lizzie was picky, and the men who she was interested in weren't interested in her. And those that did see her as a catch were chased off by her father because he said they were gold diggers. No man could ever love you for who you are. It must be all about the money. So there was, as we know, there was tensions within the family. Lizzie and Emma wouldn't eat with their dinner with their father and stepmother. They just called the stepmother Mrs. Borden as well.
And they used to, they wouldn't even, when they had mates over, because they were quite social, they wouldn't entertain in the parlour. They had an upstairs guest bedroom. So they're like, we're taking our friends up to the bedroom now. It sounds like an awful atmosphere to live in.
Now, in May 1892, Andrew went into the barn with a hatchet and he killed multiple pigeons as he thought they were attracting local kids who were hunting them. Kids in rural areas do fucking weird shit, don't they?
Yeah.
You look at you having flashbacks.
No, I was thinking of one particular horrific murder locally when I was growing up.
Don't. No. Oh, I know which one you mean. Yeah. Lizzie was upset by this because she liked the pigeons and had recently built a roost for them. And the claim of upset actually is often disputed in this scenario. But this sounds like, all of this scenario sounds like a northern storyline written by like a southern middle class sort of writer.
They've got a day's work on Coronation Street and they'll be like, the girls are upset because the pigeons have been hatcheted.
Yeah, exactly. The stepfathers. Yeah, there'll be a stepfather in it, won't it, that's killed the pigeons. Anyway, so both sisters started taking extended holidays to get away from the house. They were going to New Bedford a lot, and because there was a lot of arguments in the environment and, tension at home. Lizzie had actually been away a week before the murders. She'd stayed in a local boarding house for 4 days when she got home rather than go home immediately. So the tensions had reached a peak in the months before the murders, and as you say, because Andrew gave that gift of the house,
They'd also all been ill recently.
Yeah.
And there was speculation that it was poison. So basically, they were all because people are going, oh, well, Lizzie did the murders, or the girls did the murder. It was always sort of planned. And they had tried to poison them before, and that hadn't worked. But Lizzie and her sister were throwing up as well. But that has happened in other cases where
Yes,
poison is so easily transferred that, you don't wash a cup well enough and suddenly there's, whatever in that as well, arsenic or whatever.
well, more on this later.
Yeah, more on this later. But it also turned out that they think it was just because he was so tight he wouldn't get rid of food that had gone off.
Oh, don't.
So they were just eating rotten food all the time and then pissing through their ass.
That is very... And it's hot. And everyone stinks.
Yeah.
I can't even be bothered. And there's those dead pigeons.
At least there's no heating. Imagine it all cooking up in there.
Oh, horrible. Now, the night before the murders, John Morse, who was Lizzie and Emma's maternal uncle, visited the house. He wanted to discuss business with Andrew. And he was invited to stay. But apparently there was conversations about property which were creating a tense atmosphere. Now, several days before the murders, the entire house had been ill. They said it was mutton left on the stove.
Mm-hmm.
Mutton, I can't think of a worse meat to be rotten. A fucking sheep. But Abby was thinking, the stepmother was like, I think it's poison because Andrew's not a popular man in Fall River. She thought,
there was it could have been any number of people who were trying to kill him.
So John Morse actually stayed. He stayed the night in the guest room on the 3rd of August and he had breakfast with the family. Emma, who wasn't there though, she didn't have breakfast, and he and Andrew chatted business in the sitting room. He left at 8:48 a.m. It is too early for all of this to be happening, in my opinion. Like, you've had breakfast, you've done some business.
Yeah.
It's not even 9 o'clock. He left to buy a pair of oxen and to see his niece. Now, it's such an old days thing to do.
Yeah, but all of this is like too specific and too weird, and it all sounds like overselling.
Well, he also said, I plan to return at noon. Now,
I first must buy my oxen. Like, what's going on?
Andrew then left for his morning walk at 9 a.m. Aren't people who have morning walks nosy cunts, eh? Nosy fucking cunts seeing what's happening.
Do you know what? I was lucky enough to film this series in New Zealand during October, and we were chatting about, because most of the crew as well are from North Wales. There's really funny nicknames in North Wales that people have. And we were laughing about the different nicknames, and this guy was saying, I'll have to change the name, so let's say it's Rachel. But there's a woman on an estate in North Wales, and they call her Rachel Gynnar, and Gynnar is just is Welsh for early, and it's because she's always at like 4 o'clock in the morning. She's like out and about in a garden doing things, like, dear Rachel Gynnar's out, and like, she's walking the dog at 6 and all this kind of thing.
That's so funny.
But always like up at the crack of dawn.
It's both insulting but also
nice. Yeah, fair play. She's always up early.
There's an old chap who, near Tim's mum and dad's house, every single afternoon rather, there's a graveyard across the road, and he goes to his wife's grave he is pissing on it, but that's not the point.
Are you serious?
Oh, it's a joke.
Oh, fucking hell.
That's actually Tim's dad's joke.
Oh, it's
which
good.
I've done a couple of times. You believed me there.
Yeah.
But what happens is every afternoon, he goes to his wife's grave. Obviously, has a little chat with her or whatever. But for some reason, their dog hates him. So this poor guy walks past, and Bella, the dog's like, is that old bastard? And she's like,
because he knows it's because Bella knows that he's wanking onto the grave.
I didn't say wanking, I said pissing.
Well, I'm telling you,
oh
wanking.
My God. I'm so sorry that I tried
that
to joke.
That
grave
grave is like some Premier Inn curtains, mate.
Oh,
it's like a
no.
Jackson Pollock.
Do you know what? I can't believe you made that even worse. You have ruined that now. That is horrible. It was just a funny little thing, and now it's dirty.
Now it's coarse.
Yeah, it's disgusting. Anyway, they were supposed to, Lizzie and Emma were supposed to tidy the guest room as part of their regular chores. But Abby went up between 9 and 10 a.m. to make the bed because obviously they couldn't be arsed because they lazy little shits. Emma wasn't there, so obviously Lizzie would have been tasked with doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't. So at some point when Abby is tidying the bed, she was attacked. And according to forensics, Abby was facing her attacker. And she was struck on the side of the head with a hatchet and fell face down. She was then struck multiple times with 17 more direct hits to the back of her head, killing her. So obviously the rhyme is incorrect.
If you look at the crime scene photos, but the very famous photo of her, it looks like she's kneeling. It looks like very strange, like she's. Yeah. But what it was apparently is she fell, and then you could see her ankles, and the police were like, Because it's Victorian times, they're like,
hell.
cover this up. Like, she's been through enough already. So they covered her ankles. So it kind of looks strange in the pictures, and looks like she's kneeling up, but it's just where the dress has been tugged down. Well, absolutely awful. And the whole thing in this is when Lizzie is interviewed, she cannot remember what happens to Abby after 9 a.m. She's got no idea, even though they're in the same house. She's like, I have no idea about her movements after 9 a.m. And obviously at 8:48, my uncle left to buy 2 oxen.
Well, obviously. And so Andrew Borden returns from his walk at 10:30. That is a long walk. That is a lot of snooping. His key failed to open the door. So he knocked, and Maggie, the maid, comes down, and she went to open it. And she swore when she found, fucking hell, sure, to be sure.
Really good.
That was Irish. And she swore because she found it jammed. Now, Maggie later testified that she heard Lizzie laugh at the top of the stairs immediately after this. So if that laughter is true, that's significant because Abby was dead by this point.
So what, that's significant because you think she was upstairs, she was looking at the fact that she killed Abby.
Possibly, something like that.
I don't think that rings true.
Oh, well, 10:30.
I think you would be upstairs. You don't forget, this is like, she doesn't want anything to do with Abby. Abby is locking her door. She hears a maid in front of the dad go, oh, fuck, and laughs. I'm on Lizzie's side with this.
Maybe. Lizzie says she went upstairs and she said that she told her father that Abby had been asked to visit a sick friend because he says, where's Abby? He says she's gone to visit a sick friend. Why?
Yeah.
So,
and also they tried to find the friend and like that there wasn't a sick friend.
Maggie then helped remove Andrew's boots. Pathetic. And put his slippers on him as he went to nap. Oh my God, an exhausting morning for this absolute fucking toe rag of a man. Lizzie is, actually, it's interesting because the crime scene photographs show that he had boots on and not slippers. So the shoes were never changed. Maggie then cleaned the windows.
Do you think Maggie's a liar then?
I don't know.
Maggie is one of the suspects.
I think she knows that Lizzie Borden did it. But Maggie then says she went and rested in her room just before 11:10. When she heard Lizzie call, Maggie, come quick, father's dead. Someone came in and killed him. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, they think that's strange because it's sort of, it's immediately going, and someone else, naming a suspect.
Yes.
So going, someone came into the house and then they've killed him. But also I think if I saw someone, like, when you're struck by, like, trauma or grief or whatever, you don't really know how you're going to react. In her defence. Like, there's no... And so many people have been prosecuted because they didn't act the right way, even though they're innocent. It just does different things to different people. But I don't know. I think it's a weird thing to say, but I don't think that makes her guilty.
Yeah, I think it does. Well, she then claimed she'd been in the barn.
Yes.
I was in the barn.
Well, then they go, we'll send for a doctor.
A bit bloody late for that.
Yeah, needs more than that.
Well, he slumped on the couch, Andrew. He'd been struck 10 or 11 times by a hatchet-like weapon. One of his eyes had been split in two, cleanly. This suggested he was asleep when attacked. There was no struggle. He was still bleeding and death was estimated at 11 a.m.
Yes, he was still warm, in fact. So what they did is they sent for a doctor. So God love her. I'm going to call her real name, which is Bridget/Maggie. Runs a couple of doors down. There is an Irish doctor. And then it's like, because something's happened. He gets there. And Lizzie's like, I'm not having an Irish doctor. So doesn't use the doctor and instead goes, send for our friend. And this is Adelaide Churchill. So it's just a friend of theirs in the neighbourhood who arrives, sees Andrew, is like, yeah, definitely dead. Even though I'm not a medical practitioner, I can say that the man with an eye in half
is dead
and 11 hatchet marks in his head is actually dead.
I think what we have here is a dead man.
But then not long after this, Abby is found.
Yes.
And she is cold,
yes,
crucially.
And her blood was congealed, so it was clear that she'd been killed up to 2 hours prior to her husband. Yeah. So this indicated that someone must have been hiding in the house. Now, Emma then arrives back in town to comfort her sister and mourn.
Yes.
Mourn the parents that she knew.
Well, it's a very clean alibi,
in my opinion.
Isn't it? It's a very clean alibi.
Yeah.
And then as soon as this gets sort of reported and called in, it goes in the local paper and then the press descends on the area. And in fact, very shortly after it, word spread and people were coming in the house and kind of messing with the crime scene. So exactly what you wouldn't want today, but to be honest, they weren't getting forensic evidence then anyway.
Well, the investigators initially were suspicious of Lizzie because there was no struggle in the house. There was clean blood spatter. The murder was very personal due to the severity of the attack, and a hatchet head was found in the basement with no handle, which, I'll be honest with you, when I think back to some of the stuff my granddad used to put in the cellar at our old house, I think that's fine.
Well, it was really funny because there was this bucket of rags, bloody rags there, and the police found them like, what's this? What's this? It feels like someone's cleaned themselves up after a murder. And Lizzie went, I was on my period, and they're like, it doesn't matter, we didn't ask anything.
Leave it to me, it's okay,
So literally, the fact that it was like a posh woman telling them that's actually my menses, that they were like, we will never ask that question again, worry not.
No problem.
Yeah, isn't that so funny?
Thank you, Mrs. Patterson. No problem.
Can you believe that, like, it's the ultimate saying you're on your period to get out of PE?
Yeah,
Sorry, actually, I didn't clean myself up. Those are my.
Okay.
But I guess they would have used rags.
On the rag?
On the rag, of course, yeah. One of my favourite expressions, that.
It's horrible.
Cat's been on the jam. And cat's been out the jam, sorry, and on the rag. Those are my two favourites.
No, thank you. I'm very, you know me.
And early days, the local paper were moving the suspicion away from the girls, or Lizzie in particular. So one of them said, there is medical evidence to suggest that this was done by a tall man who struck the woman from behind. I was like, there is no medical evidence to just suggest that.
Yeah. Also, they sent off the stomachs of Andrew and Abby to we sent to a chemist to see if poison had been taken place, because Abby had told a doctor that they'd been vomiting in the lead up to this, and she was worried that they'd been poisoned. Now, police then visited every store that sold poison, and Dr. Smith's gave them a lead. So Eli Bentz, great name, said on the Wednesday prior to the murders, a woman came in and asked for hydrogen cyanide. She said she needed it for moths because they'd been eating her sealskin cloak. Cloak. It seems a little bit brutal for moths. It's like an AK-47 for fucking spiders, dear. So hydrogen cyanide apparently has an almond smell, but only a small percentage of the population can detect it. So it can be easily put into food or drink. That sounds like something a man would put on a dating profile. I'm one of the few people that can actually detect hydrogen cyanide. You're lucky to have me, ladies. It's very fatal and affects vital organs. Now, Eli...
So's an axe, though.
Well, exactly. Eli told her he needed a doctor's note from her to sell it her, as it was so dangerous. Now, 10 p.m. on the night of the murders, he was taken to the Borden house and he identified Lizzie as the woman that he spoke to.
Yikes.
So, as you said, the papers were full of the news. Some were suspicious of Lizzie.
Yes.
There was, it spread all over the USA, the USA, this news. Now, New York papers had put a reward out for it, $5,000. That was from the sisters. They put a $5,000 reward up. Now, the funerals were held 2 days after the deaths.
Get them done.
Lizzie was prescribed morphine to calm her nerves. They also had open caskets. Why?
What?
Why?
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
Why?
And I bet they had the feet sawed off as well.
Why? Horrible.
That's so horrible, because also, like, it only takes someone with bad eyesight to be like, these cold cuts are lovely. What a lovely buffet.
Oh,
love a cocktail sausage.
Boiled egg.
That is so horrific.
Oh my God, I've actually knocked myself sick.
They're Protestants as well, because there's loads of tension in this area between, it's a sort of wealthy, white, waspy, Protestant population, and then so Portuguese people there and Irish people, and they treat the Irish people and the Portuguese people like absolute dirt. So immediately they went, well, it's someone Portuguese.
Yes,
and that's what the investigation started looking for, someone Portuguese. And when they couldn't find someone Portuguese, they went Irish, and they went, it's probably someone Irish, and then went through the Irish population of interviewing anyone. And there was a rumour for a while that it's a medical professional who's done this. A medical professional, like, what, they're not using a hatchet, are they?
A medical professional could have poisoned them easily, not fucking hacked them to death.
Exactly. And but then there was another thing. It was I guess an early sort of forensic psychologist who came out at the time and said hacking is almost a positive sign of a deed by a woman who's unconscious of what she's doing. So it was like simultaneously going, this is the kind of thing a woman would do, but at the same time going, and she wasn't even aware she was doing it. The absolute lamb. But also, I don't actually think an axe is a woman's way of doing things.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think it is, Lizzie. I think it's unfortunate.
I think it is her. But I do think it's unusual that she chose to use an axe. People lined the streets for the funeral, though. They loved it. Around 3,000 people
Yeah, but
And
they
that's
did
a
for
lot
Jimmy-
because I think in
Jimmy
those
Savile,
days there was
so-
only 10,000 people.
Really?
No, I just made that up.
Oh, I thought you meant in the town.
I meant like in the world. But Lizzie's appearance was deemed inappropriate because of what she was wearing.
Yeah, so she didn't wear morning clothes. In fact, she wore something quite like figure hugging.
Okay.
She's like, I'm living my best life. And there was a standardised morning dress at that time because it's sort of Victorian
Yeah, and you had to wear it
period.
for a few months. Like if it was your husband, it was you had to wear it for longer. If it was you,
So she wore this black figure hugging thing for funeral, which they're like, that's not really what you do. And then was just constantly in bright colours, like like everywhere she went after that, she was in. Everyone's like, Lizzie is really finding. Maybe she had her colours done. Do you know what? That's a very North Walian thing, or maybe it's a woman of like 40
I know
onwards.
I know what you mean.
Do you have that? Is that an English thing? Did you see that happening a lot?
Do you mean like what to wear?
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is you go and sit in like a woman's like there's a shed at the bottom of the garden and that's well lit, and she'll put a pashmina on. You go, look how that lifts you, or like this absolutely drains you.
Right, I know.
So people go and have their colours done, and she'll sort of pick what you should buy and stuff.
She's had her colours done. It.
Yeah, and listen, if you're doing that, I know it really helps some people. That's great, but there's one woman doing a fucking roaring trade up in here in North Wales, doing everyone's colours. You know what? We've got in North Wales one person doing everyone's colours and one doula. This woman is pulling kids out of people left, right, and centre.
It's like Bronwyn the doula.
Yeah, really is, genuinely. I think she's really Welsh, and she's a doula, and she just does like if we do swap down a shop or something, they'll be like, or so and so's talking about their kid, and they were like, oh yeah, because we use a doula, and we're like, did you use her as well? Like, just like this woman's hand has been up every fanny in North Wales. I actually don't know how it works, clearly.
I can't imagine anything worse. Lizzie was visibly upset at the funeral and had to be held up by an undertaker. She was shaking and crying. And the sisters stayed in the carriage as per the rules of the time, by the way, because it was thought that the women couldn't handle the grief of seeing the coffins being lowered into the ground.
Fair play. Lizzie's losing it.
But the coffins weren't lowered into the ground. They were put in a receiving vault as the medical examiner wanted to do more examining. Lizzie and Emma didn't know about this. The bodies were then put into a vault for 2 weeks.
Wow.
So
they suspected it was the girls, and they were doing all this behind their back. I mean, to be honest, they could have just gone to the funeral and had a good look while their caskets are open.
Well, so this is the other thing as well is, as you said, that the other suspects other than Lizzie were foreigners from the Portuguese community because they were swarthy skinned and Roman Catholic. Technically me. And that was enough evidence for them. But John Morse, remember him with his oxen?
Yeah.
He was also a suspect because he was there before and after the killings, and they had a livestock business, but he was also a butcher.
And he also had that sort of like weird disagreement with him about the properties. It was a bit tense.
But he had an alibi, which some people said was too precise. It couldn't have been Emma because she wasn't there. Mm-hmm. Maggie the maid.
Yeah.
She liked Abby Borden. They were employed. She was employed by her. She gave her a home. There was no motive for Maggie the maid to be doing this.
But also what's really difficult about this is I'm not convinced there was motive for Lizzie, because they said the reason why Abby was killed is obviously there's disagreements, and if you killed the dad, everything would just go to Abby anyway, and if you killed Abby, the dad, like Abby hasn't got anything. So I'm not convinced it is a financial motive. I understand that, like, because so it goes to the girls, but the girls are pretty wealthy anyway, and they didn't want the responsibility of running the businesses or the households. They were living very comfortably.
Yeah, but they wanted more.
Okay.
They wanted more. They're spoiled brats.
Well, I will say that around the time, here's my counterpoint, around the time there had been at least one, but maybe two other incidences of families being slaughtered by an unknown killer with an axe in the house in the same city in the sort of like 18 months surrounding it. So there had been these like basically spree killings of families being taken out by someone with an axe,
which she probably knew about. So she thought, I'll do that because then they'll think it's that.
Okay, I'll let you have that.
She did it. She did it.
Well, they get slightly there's no kind of evidence to sort of tie them to it really, other than like a gut feeling, and the police have this difficult thing where it's like, well, this is a posh woman, so we should just believe what she says. She's automatically trustworthy because she's wealthy, she's educated. But then Alice, one of their friends, Alice Russell, comes forward and says, well,
Alice the Grass.
They fell out with her and they never spoke to her again, rightly so. Alice said, well, there was this stained dress covered in paint, although the paint was meant to be green.
Yes.
So it was a blue dress,
Nice to try things out, isn't
it's
it?
nice to try things out.
She's having the colours done.
But this is the thing, isn't it? It's like where was the green paint that she got? Anyway. So blue dress with green paint on it. And Lizzie says, I'm going to burn this dress because I got paint on it. And I want to tell you that, Alice. So there's a witness to me destroying this dress. And Alice was like, don't destroy a dress when they potentially think that you're a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I'm just going to do it anyway. So burnt the dress. But the dress was never found on the first search of the house. And the police were like, so they basically said in court, they sort of caught them out and they said, well, which one? They were like, she hid the evidence from us. And, this dress is really important. She destroyed evidence. And then I think the defense went, so what is it? You can't do your jobs and search the house. Or she's like, or that dress wasn't important. And they were like,
But then they did find blood on one of her skirts on another search. And then what did Lizzie say it was again?
I don't know.
She said it was a period blood again.
I mean, yeah.
And they were like, okay,
I did
no problem.
it fucking everywhere. And I've got every sort of thing at my disposal.
Now, Emma, Lizzie and Alice were questioned. Alice told the detective about the skirt being burnt, the handler's hatchet, the dress, and the attempt to buy poison was enough for a warrant. Now, Maggie tried to leave the house but was told by police not to. She wanted to go, as you would, I think. So police interviewed her at the station and she said she no longer felt safe now that Abby was dead and she wanted to leave. Now, papers were reporting how old Lizzie had looked and how a mourning attire wasn't correct. And you're looking old. You can look a bit old, aren't you? I mean, you just murdered your stepmother and your father. And Lizzie was then interviewed by the police and the DA, and her answers contradicted Maggie's story. Crowds gathered at the police station. They had nothing to do in those days, did they? And at 7 p.m, Lizzie was arrested, and Emma couldn't believe it. Lizzie was shocked. She was holding the tears back. She was taken to prison to await trial. She was vomiting, and a doctor was called. And the next day, she pleaded not guilty.
Well, I do think that, she's very distressed. She's very distressed when they're being buried. She's very distressed when they're being when she's arrested. She's very distressed during the trial.
Acting.
I don't know, can you act throwing up and crying?
Look, this was the Victorian days. It would have been so easy to just be melodramatic, like, oh, that's what people wanted, oh, I'm so, oh, mum, father, that kind of shit. She did it.
So,
and she liked it.
No, fucking, you can't say that.
I can say what I want, she's dead.
June 5th, 1893. The trial takes place at the New Bedford courthouse. There are 3 judges and a jury of 12 men, because don't let women have a decision. Now, she has got, because of the money from the family, a crack team sort of defending her.
We should say as well, just 5 days before the trial, another axe murder happened in Fall River. So this happened. So the one before as well, this happened after. Mm-hmm. The victim was called Bertha Manchester, which sounds like what people would call me behind my back, actually. But as you say, the murders were strikingly similar. But later, Jose de Mello, a Portuguese immigrant, was convicted of the murder, and he was found not to have been in Fall River at the time of the Borden killings.
I don't know. So she had, in her defence, Andrew Jennings and George Robinson. Now, George Robinson was another kind of flex from a very wealthy family in the Bordens. He was the former governor of Massachusetts, so he was respected, revered. It was a bit of a celebrity to have him in the courtroom and representing them.
Mm-hmm.
There's a moment in it where they... You know the thing about throwing the dress?
Yes.
Yeah. So they have this dress as evidence and they throw it on the desk. And when it gets thrown, it sort of pushes some papers out the way to reveal pictures, which are evidence pictures of Andrew and Abby's heads.
Hold on. It's actually their skulls. It's actually their heads.
What?
It's not photographs. It's their heads.
What?
Yes. So Andrew and Abby's heads...
Well, I kept reading it. I was like, there must be pictures.
No, Andrew and Abby's heads had been removed during the autopsy and the skulls used as evidence. So they were presented on the first day, right? Lizzie fainted.
What a horrible paperweight.
Yeah.
So they also think their parents have been buried.
Well, there you go. They find this
Well, no,
out.
She's right to faint then.
So the actual heads, not pictures, the actual...
What,
bonds?
Had they removed the matter from it? Was it just the skull?
I imagine so. Yeah,
you imagine so? I didn't imagine they bring the actual skulls in.
Like
That is awful. So yeah, obviously she sees these skulls and not just pictures, which I thought it was.
No, it's the
and
actual
then
skulls.
faints for several minutes, and then it's all chaos in the courts. It's quite a dramatic court case as well.
So the evidence of her attempts to buy hydrogen cyanide the day before the murders was excluded. The judge said it was too remote to have any connection. Mental.
Well, I don't know that it is. If that would have been an absolutely normal thing for people to go and get
Yeah, but
rid
it
of
wasn't.
moths.
You need a doctor's note. He said it's too much for the thing that you want it for.
Yeah, but you know, like, yeah, maybe
she did it. So after hearing the evidence, the jury went to deliberate for 90 minutes. And, I mean, at least make it seem like you're taking it seriously. What happens? Not guilty.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. She exits the courthouse, and what does she say? I'm the happiest woman in the world. Of course she is. She just got away with a double murder.
I don't know that she did it. I think it's like, I just don't know that there's much compelling evidence other than like, they would use evidence like insinuating she was a lesbian to try and get it over the line.
It's been suggested, as you mentioned before, it was insinuated that the father might have been abusing her and that's why she killed him. It's been suggested she was in a relationship with Maggie.
Yeah.
And she killed the parents after being found with her, after being found in tryst with Abby, with Maggie by Abby. And they think Lizzie killed her, confessed to her father, who was appalled, and then she killed him. And they think that Maggie disposed of the hatchet, not having it. Here's my theory. I think she did do it, but she took all her clothes off to commit the murder.
You think she did it naked?
Hence no blood.
That has been a contemporary thing that was suggested, that there's no blood on things. But then why, that doesn't make sense with the blue dress, right? So everything, I feel like all the evidence that's put forward contradicts the other evidence.
Look, I don't know. I just think she did it.
If she was wearing the blue dress, let's say she cleaned herself with those rags, right? And that's why they're covered in blood. If there's that many rags covered in blood, there wouldn't be just a bit of stuff that looked like green paint on a dress. So I think that dress has got nothing to do with it, and it's over-egged to make her seem guilty.
I just think, I'm going to sound controversial here, I think with a lot of crimes that are committed by women, that it's so shocking that people want to rewrite history as if they didn't do it. And I think there's a lot of that goes on.
I would say
with historical stuff. You can't. Sometimes facts are just facts.
Yeah, I get that there's a lot of revisionist.
And I think that sometimes, you shouldn't do that. I think, I mean, all right, she got away with it. Sorry, was found innocent. But I just hate that. I hate this sort of revisionist stuff of quite a lot of things that I'm like, no, that isn't a fact. You're assuming to make it seem more palatable.
What I will say is I do think a rich woman could get away with murder, especially in this time, because they thought the women weren't capable of anything and that rich people could never do anything bad. And there would have been a massive power imbalance and, structure anyway. So I do believe that, but I just don't think there's much evidence for it.
Well, it was, as we know, it was rumoured that Lizzie was a lesbian. I love that.
Guilty.
Lizzie was a lesbian. I love saying that. Lizzie was a lesbian. Maggie later married a man in Montana. What a lovely... Lizzie was a lesbian. Maggie later married a man in Montana.
It's like vocal warm-ups.
Now, it's alleged that Maggie gave a deathbed confession saying she changed her testimony to protect Lizzie. I don't think that's true.
No, because I don't think they like Lizzie at all.
I don't think so. There was talk of an illegitimate son who tried to extort money off Andrew. A man called William Borden. Later, after lots of research, it was proven that he wasn't the son. Emma... it's been proposed that she may have secretly visited to kill them before being back in Fairhaven in time to get the telegram. I don't think that's true.
No, I don't think that's true either.
Too much arsing about that.
It's a lot of arsing about, mate, yeah. But I do think that it was quite a violent time. And also they did eventually find a hatchet on the property. I think it was in the barn, but it didn't match the one that was used. Okay. So they're like, this is the murder weapon? And they're like, it doesn't match. And they're like, still the murder weapon, though. So I just think that they didn't know when they were reaching for it. And so you can't convict someone, it has to be, whatever, beyond all reasonable doubt.
As Abby, actually, was ruled to have died before Andrew, the estate passed to him and then to his daughters. So they got a massive amount of money. A considerable settlement was paid to Abby's family as well to shut them up.
You think hush money?
Yeah, of course it was. Emma and Lizzie got a large house together on the hill, which is where they always wanted to live.
In the posh bit.
They had staff, they had a housekeeper and a coachman. Lovely touch. Lizzie, though, was shunned by Fall River Society, and she was also accused of shoplifting in Rhode Island in 1897. All that and a thief as well. There was rumours, though, that she had a relationship with the actress Nance O'Neill.
Love that.
That's such a name of the times. Now, Emma fell out with Lizzie after a party was thrown for Nance, and they never spoke again.
Really?
Yeah, they never spoke again after Emma moved out. Never spoke again.
That's rough.
Lizzie died of pneumonia on June the 1st, 1927, in Fall River, aged 66. Not many people attended the funeral. Emma died 9 days later from kidney disease in New Hampshire.
That's mad.
Both were incredibly wealthy when they died, and the money was given to friends and animal charities. Neither sister married, and they're buried next to each other in Oak Grove Cemetery.
Fuming, but absolutely fuming.
She defo did it, in my opinion.
I think that there's no proof that she did it. There's just circumstantial evidence.
And she didn't do it again, so fair play.
She didn't do it again, yeah, that we know of.
That we know of.
So that is Lizzie Borden, our Christmas special.
A lovely Christmas romp, that wasn't it?
It was nice. Yeah, so I hope you're enjoying this as maybe you've got us on a laptop and you're watching us on YouTube while you're making Christmas dinner. Maybe you're slipping in and out of consciousness from enjoying Baileys. Either way, we hope you have a lovely day today. Whatever your
Is this
Christmas
out
day
on
looks
Christmas
like.
Day?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, nice. Lovely.
Is it? Yeah,
I'll
do.
I'll do.
That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Oh, my brothers always say that to me.
Do they?
Yeah, when I finish doing something.
That'll do, pig.
Yeah,
that'll do.
Yes.
Another film I've never seen, just that bit.
I think you don't need to see loads of films. You just got a gist of them. I've got enough of Star Wars under my belt that I can reference it in a set.
Could not be less interested.
I think I'm going to watch it this Christmas. In fact, as you're watching us, I may be watching all of Star Wars.
Do you know what Tim calls me and his dad?
No.
So, because I find Tim's dad very, very funny, and I like him very much. Have you ever seen Star Wars when... This sounds like it's really cruel, but it's not. It's meant with affection. That little thing that sits with Jabba the Hutt, it's called Salacious Crumb.
Oh, yeah.
And it just laughs at whatever Jabba the Hutt says. That's what he calls me. He's like, oh, here she is, salacious. He does say laughing at Jabba's jokes, but that's not very Christmassy, is it? But when I saw a clip of it, I was like, actually, yeah, I can see it.
We hope you have a really nice Christmas and a lovely New Year.
See you on tour, hopefully.
See you on tour, yes. Oh, we should talk about that.
Hey, some of these people today will have opened a gift and it will have been tickets to see us.
Yes, I really appreciate that. I'm on tour as well next year from May. I'm going all over the country. So, yes, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a space near you.
Thank you to everyone who came to my tour, which has now finished and seems like a distant memory. There is one tour date left.
Is there?
Well, because I did every single tour date apart from one, which had to be rescheduled because the venue couldn't open because the main show had to be cancelled. So Dawn French had gone in for a knee operation, so I couldn't do my show.
That's so funny.
We wish you well, Dawn. Get well soon. To be honest with you, I was absolutely thrilled when I heard that I didn't have to. I was like, a night at home, fucking brilliant.
That's it. We have got our dream jobs as comedians, but there's nothing better than being told the gig's pulled on
There's
the
nothing
day.
better than something being cancelled. Isn't it? Even if you got to meet a friend as well, you're not seeing him for ages. Do you mind if we cancel?
I had on the day of my dad's ceremony funeral, I was meant to be doing a charity gig locally that evening, which of course I wouldn't have pulled because it's a charity gig. But then because of high winds, it was in like a marquee outside. It was like so I was so sorry, and I was like, I couldn't be more I do care so much about this hospice, but I couldn't be more fucking delighted. Yeah, I was like, thanks, Pops. Pulling gigs from down there, bubbling on my dad. No, I don't mean that. Love him, miss him every day. So we should say we are going on tour. We start on the 30th of March in Glasgow in the beautiful King's Theatre, which is huge.
Nearly sold out.
And it's our only Scottish date because we're not doing the Fringe. So
we're not.
No, we've decided we're not doing the Fringe. So if you want to see us live in Scotland this year, that will be your chance to do it. Yep. Leeds is sold out. Cardiff, Norwich and Bristol are probably
Exeter.
by the time this comes out. So, and Exeter probably sold out. Manchester, even though it's massive,
nearly sold out.
Yeah, it's nearly sold out.
Also, we're adding no more dates.
No more
there are
dates.
no more dates. This is 10 dates. That is it. Newcastle, we're sorry we're not coming there.
We did
But
try.
if you mention it once more,
You were
I'm
like-
going to smash the
Well, you
internet
had a drink
up.
the other day and like, wow, we're not fucking going back to Newcastle. Fucking attitude on them.
I didn't mean it. Of course I didn't mean it. But I just hate it. You know, you're like, we've been there like 4 times. We always bring
And
our
also-
tour shows there. We love it there.
Yeah.
But we've got to be fair and go to other places as well.
Do you know
but
what
we
I
do love you, Newcastle.
I
we
would
do.
rather you do Newcastle is turn around to a council and go, why do you only have 2 venues?
Yes.
One is enormous and one is too small, because that is the issue that I'm having and that we're having. So we'll do a Halloween show and we'll do a Christmas show. And there's
You never know. Maybe Newcastle might be one of those.
exactly.
So, you know.
And Ireland, we're very aware that we passed you over and we are planning something.
Oh, I'm bringing a tour show to Ireland, so the tour isn't really finished. Dublin and Belfast. I'll be, At some point, you've asked, you better fucking turn up.
Nadolig Llawen, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
And Newcastle, I do love you. It is a joke.
Oh yeah, it was
so
clearly
just so
a
you
joke.
know,
you were just being it was clearly a joke. Of course we love Newcastle.
Yes,
it's one of our favourite places.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.